Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice and it's by user Radio Election. Wives 36 female, sister's husband, brother-in-law 35 male, told her he wanted to kiss her. I'm 37 male, conflicted. So my wife Julie and our brother-in-law Jimmy have been running together for the past few months. Julie told me that besides their weekend runs, that they were also running during the week after work. Well, Jimmy was not telling his wife, Kirsten, about all the runs, and Julie kept them secret from her sister, though I suspect she didn't tell me about all the runs. Anyways, Kirsten somehow finds about them running during the week and gets upset. I tell Julie I agree with her sister and that they should stop running as it's starting to get weird with the lying. I also pointed out that it seemed a little weird to be running that much together, and she commented that it was not like they were having an affair. As I think back now, over the last few months, she was very complimentary of how open Jimmy was on the runs and that they could speak about everything and how I didn't bring anything to the table. She seemingly got mad at me all the time for the smallest things, and there were frequent comments about how Jimmy was so great. Well, last weekend Kirsten got upset and Julie said she would not run with Jimmy anymore. She explained that she ran with him since she didn't feel safe running outside alone and that he and her ran at the same pace. Her sister left it as, do what you want, but was clearly upset. Julie didn't run all week, but he was texting her constantly about running and she finally agreed to go Saturday morning. She asked if I was okay with it, and I told her that I really wasn't, and it seemed strange she would go against Kirsten and my wishes. She commented they were just running partners and that everyone was acting weird for no reason. Well, 1 hour later, she comes flying through the door and says Jimmy told her he wanted to kiss her and texted her the same thing. My wife was all upset, said she called him and asked what are you thinking and that he was crazy and hung up. I was shocked that Jimmy would pull this and asked Julie what would have led to this and that men don't just say things like that for no reason. My wife denied any conversations about our marriage, issues, or anything that would have led him on. I told her, I love you and believe you and that you must tell Kirsten. She said absolutely not, as it would destroy her family and that it wasn't a big deal. She got upset when I told her I wanted her to tell Jimmy that I was aware and said he already learned his lesson and that would blow it out of proportion. I am very upset, told her the same, and she basically said we need to just move on and act like nothing happened. I disagreed, and she now will not talk about it and told me that I'm acting like a baby and ruining our relationship with my attitude about it. I feel like she was having an emotional affair and is now protecting him and her because she developed some sort of feelings for him. I ended up looking at our phone bill and seeing that she had multiple calls over the last couple of months with him that were 10, 15, and 20 minutes long during the workday when I'm obviously not around. Not proud of this, but I looked at her messages and took a picture of the one saying he wanted to kiss her. There were also messages about him giving her a special birthday present and then one saying, I assume you deleted the text before you got home and let's just forget about this one. For some unknown reason, Julie is willing to act like this is no big deal when in reality it is a big deal to me. Maybe I shouldn't be upset, but I can't shake the feeling that she is not as innocent as she is putting forth. I don't believe anything physical happened, but why defend a scumbag like this and allow him to go on like nothing happened, especially when your sister is involved? I need some advice on how to handle this. Oof, OP, the way you handle this, I believe, will set the outcome for the future of your marriage because, like you, I absolutely believe your wife is having an emotional affair. Her reaction doesn't scream innocence to me, and the fact that she's gaslighting you and browbeating you into not saying anything and trying to move forward says a lot. But also, like you, I don't think anything physical happened, or else why come forward with he tried to kiss me? I think she was just happy having the emotional affair, and the fact that he wanted to kiss her made it more for real and she freaked out. Which honestly, I don't care about because cheating is cheating. Emotional, physical, it's cheating. So here's what you do. You don't stay quiet about it. You gotta go talk to Kirsten. If her sister won't tell her what's going on, then you have to. And regarding Jimmy, you confront him and you tell him what the hell is going on to stay away from your wife and your family and never talk to you guys again. This is a scumbag that has no respect for you, your marriage, or your family, and your wife is defending him. Yeah, this thing is done. Jimmy is out. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Liquid J says, so your wife likes to F with her sister's man behind her back? She's going for secret runs with her sister's husband behind her sister's back for safety and pace? Are you kidding me? That doesn't even pass the smell test. Smells like BS. Quote, I need some advice on how to handle this. End quote. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Air it all out. Get everyone together and figure out what the hell is going on. Your wife is a liar. I think she doesn't want you talking to her sister because I'm willing to wager that there's been issues like this in their past. This is BS and lying happening around you. You need to fix it. Deleted says, people don't run together that often unless there's something going on. Everyone that I know, including couples, might run together once, maybe twice a week, and they don't lie about it. The lying is the part that makes everything that much more wicked. Then you add the phone calls to the mix, the text messages, her not willing to tell her sister, her wanting to blow it off like no big deal, and the brother-in-law asking to kiss her. Come on, man. She's not making a big deal about it because she's as involved as the husband is. They're trying to get away with an affair. Even if that's not the case, at this point, you're going to have a hard time trusting her again. Can you find some location information from the phone provider to see if they spent more time in one spot on their run? Keep records, keep communication open with the sister-in-law to get as much information as possible. See if you can check other communications though. Now that it's out, I'd imagine tracks are being covered. Have another talk with your wife and see how her response makes you feel. You know something's up. And OP responds, I just can't figure out why she wants to protect him. She doesn't want me saying a word. Somehow I'm the bad guy if I say something. What concerns me is the willingness to cover it up from her sister. She tried to explain that he is just confused and having a tough time in the marriage and their kids. I commented that through all our tough times, I never told another woman I wanted to kiss them. This information made me realize their talks were probably very personal and that he was laying the poor me groundwork so she'd feel bad. And Alec514 says, this sounds very much like she is having an emotional affair. I think you should go ahead and tell the brother-in-law as well as your sister-in-law what she said. Sounds like if this isn't nipped in the bud, it might escalate. Don't let your wife gaslight you on this. It sounds very suspicious and she has no reason to defend him instead of protecting her sister from a man that would happily betray her. The fact that she would try to make you feel guilty for warning the brother-in-law to stay in normal boundaries really does sound like she's defending him and hopes for future attention from him. Sorry you're going through this. OP's short-term update. So the timeline is as follows. They were finishing their run and he dropped her off at her car. He then texted her that, I wanted to kiss you there, and then called and reiterated it right after it was sent. And that's when she told him he was crazy and out of line and hung up the phone on him. She didn't have to call him. Over dinner, Julie commented that she was glad I wasn't going to say anything to anyone and just act normal around the family. I responded that was in fact not the case, as I am still very uncomfortable and upset about what happened and I'm not sure how I'll react. She lost her crap and started calling me all sorts of names and saying that my actions were going to destroy our relationship and that I should just call her ex-wife as she won't tolerate me disregarding her wishes. I explained that I felt it was wrong just to forget it ever happened, and that I didn't appreciate her defending and excusing Jimmy's actions. She continued yelling that she now couldn't trust me and won't tell me things in the future. Told me I was going to destroy the whole family, her parents, her sister, and our lives with my not agreeing to let it go. Yelling about how dare I blame her. I made it clear I was not blaming her and that my focus was on Jimmy's actions, but she doesn't want to hear this. After she stopped yelling last night and transitioned to the silent treatment, she went straight to bed upstairs. Woke up this morning and had zero conversation with the complete silent treatment. Only words uttered were to call me an a-hole for putting a wet towel on top of my daughter's homework. She then walked out the door for work. I'm now pretty sure there's definitely something going on. Why else would she get so upset? She is claiming that not telling anyone protects Kirsten and that she stopped him in his tracks. I commented that I couldn't figure out how it would have even gotten to that level where he felt comfortable enough to say that. However, the massive blow up and trying to turn it back on me is absurd. I just kept saying last night that I did nothing wrong, and despite nothing physical happening, it is not something that I can just forget about. She started throwing out that I was causing her anxiety and stress that she didn't need, which would lead to a panic attack. I believe her and Jimmy's actions created this, not my reaction to their emotional affair. I do believe it was an absolute emotional affair, and she keeps defending him and commented that yes, Kirsten and Jimmy were having marriage issues but are doing so much better. I told her that Jimmy was an individual who was willing to break up our marriage and screw our kids' lives, and as such, his actions were unforgivable. Julie doesn't see it this way and kept saying that she stopped it and it never got physical. I asked if she told him that I knew, and she said no, that he was already embarrassed enough. I mean, what the F? So he thinks this is just another one of their little secrets and gets to walk around my family and me as though I'm none the wiser. I so want to call or text him about it, but I'm waiting to see him face to face. I plan to pull him aside and let him know I'm fully aware. Oof. Well, the community agrees. There's definitely something going on, and some people think it's physical. Now, you could argue, yeah, it's physical. I mean, they are running, right? So they come back sweaty with their messy hair and all that. Nobody's the wiser, right? And it is totally plausible, but then why would she freak out over an attempted kiss? Unless he wanted to do something that was way more than an attempted kiss, and that freaked her out, and she was just trying to play it off as a kiss. Honestly, it's still difficult to tell for me, but one thing is certain. She's definitely hiding something and trying to protect Jimmy. Anyways, OP gave us 2 more updates to his story, so let's move on with the first one to see what happened next. But of course, before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with the update. I took the last few days to think about it, and I just could not get over Jimmy saying this, especially in light of the phone calls and incessant texting between them. My wife was insistent the other day that if I did not just forget it, her entire family would be destroyed and Kirsten would be crushed. I told her that I would not say anything to her sister as that was not my place. She then said that I would also not mention anything to Jimmy and just go about business as usual and drop it. I told her I disagreed and didn't know what I would do. Well, today I am out and I see Jimmy. He acts all buddy-buddy, and I just looked at him and told him that he crossed the line and to stop contacting my wife and don't go to my house when I'm not there. 5 minutes later, I have all these missed calls and nasty messages from my wife saying that I destroyed the family, that she can trust me, that I'm a monster for saying anything to him. I called her and she was screaming like a banshee, claiming she couldn't breathe and was having an anxiety attack, all because of me. Manipulation much? She repeatedly stated she no longer had any trust in me and didn't know if there was a future for us. She then went into how Jimmy was crying, oh poor Jimmy, and all scared, and I was going to tell everyone and he was now devastated for his kids. I told my wife that he shouldn't worry about that since I have no plans to tell his wife. I then stated it was wrong for her to continue defending and being concerned about his emotions when I have been crushed all week about this issue. I walked in the door to her screaming that she trusted me not to say anything and that I stabbed her in the back. I then got the "don't talk to me as I need to think about us" and damage control going forward. I made it clear that because of her hysteria, I texted Jimmy and stated that the last words I would speak of this occurred today. It's on you to tell others, not me, and I don't care what you do. I told my wife that if she had no such intentions, then there was nothing that she did wrong and it's just being used as a pawn in his game. It's not her fault that he decided to pull such a move. So right now I am sitting downstairs and my wife stormed up to bed and isn't talking to me. I feel I had to say something as I was not going to play the secret game on this and have to act like nothing happened. I mean, she was commenting that he has a family and kids, to which I replied that he didn't give a damn about my family and kids when he said he wanted to kiss her, and I sure was hopeful the feeling wasn't mutual. So please, explain why Julie doesn't understand my anger over the situation and continues to blame me. I can't figure it out. It's all about how my actions will destroy her sister, her parents, and us. Her family has had a tough year, but that doesn't mean that she and Jimmy are now the victims and I'm some vigilante. I'm upset that my wife is furious at me, but in the end, I really don't think my actions were out of line and I stand by them. Am I crazy? Maybe I just tanked my own marriage, but who wants to stay with someone when they would defend someone like Jimmy? Also, I was able to review their text history prior to today and took photos. No idea why, but felt I needed to keep a history. They must have talked about this today because she turned off her messages, which were pulled to her iPad. She also changed the password on her phone today and made a big deal that I was snooping, which I wasn't until I felt like I was being provided half-truths. Yeah, OP, just like you say, who would want to stay in this kind of relationship? I mean, just the constant screaming and blaming would be kind of like, I'm done with this. But then the gaslighting and defending that scumbag Jimmy, not wanting to tell her sister and making you the fall guy for all of it because you're not comfortable. Yeah, F this crap. Lawyer up, OP. Rant over. Now let's move on to the final update. Thanks for all the advice. I haven't taken a scorched earth policy as I don't want to blow this up in front of my kids. One of my kids is already asking why mom is acting out. Anyway, this morning I told my wife this is unacceptable and I'm not the bad guy and won't cover for the lies. I asked her directly if she had feelings for Jimmy and she exploded with the same spiel. That she hates me, I destroyed the family, and wants a divorce. She said that she wasn't living her life with my threats. I made zero threats. I said I wanted to sit down and have an open and honest discussion about this tonight. She flew out the door to work. I left her a detailed voicemail that we need to sit down and talk about our options of 1. Seeing if this is salvageable, and 2. If not, to discuss coming to an amicable agreement to end our marriage so the least possible damage is done to the kids. I got no response from her. I know what she's doing. There is a history of manipulation as a tactic used by my wife. She usually says personal things to put me down and then blames her anxiety and that I got her so angry. I've always held and maintained that there is no place for personal attacks in an argument, but that is her fallback since she knows it bothers me. She always uses threats when she gets upset. What is more difficult to understand is that this behavior was never an issue until we got married. Never saw this side when we lived together before marriage. It didn't come out until about a year or so after. This was 8 years into our relationship. Anyway, I spoke with my wife that night and expressed that a serious discussion was needed. She immediately lost it when I asked her whether or not she had spoken negatively about our marriage and myself to Jimmy. She started screaming that I had no right to interrogate her. She then deflected, blaming me again for telling Jimmy I knew despite her saying just to drop it. I then asked if she had spoken to Jimmy since the other day. She initially denied it, and when I pointed out that earlier in the conversation she mentioned a call, she got belligerent and started with me being a monster and destroying her life. She was screaming and I just maintained my composure and said I needed to know everything that was said and done between them in order to try and salvage our relationship. She was adamant that nothing physical ever happened. In her mania, she started saying that she needed a few days to think about what she wanted to do since I violated her trust. I told her that she does not get to direct the narrative as I am not the bad guy here. I asked her if she loved me and her response was that 2 days ago when she thought I wasn't saying anything, she loved me. But now after my actions, she no longer does. Yeah, Julie sucks. I looked right at her and said that this meant it was the end of our marriage as I cannot reconcile a marriage where one partner no longer loved the other. She told me to go F myself and shut down. I commented that her actions make it appear there is much more going on than I am being told and that I will get to the bottom of it after comparing notes with Kirsten. I slept in the guest bedroom, woke up this morning, got a good workout, and she didn't make any comments before leaving for work. Anyway, I met Kirsten for coffee, and as I was trying to get it out, she stopped me and said she already knew what I was going to say. She said that she had a suspicion as Jimmy was up to something since he had been so shady the past few months. She also commented that he had started comparing her to Julie very frequently and noticed him being fixated on her at family gatherings. I told her what I knew and provided copies of texts and phone logs. I told her that after meeting her, I was going straight to meet my attorney to get this thing started. She was very upset and asked that I not mention our conversation as she needed some time to process it and figure out what to do. Hopefully, she'll join my camp and get her own attorney. But one thing's for sure, I am not a doormat, nor am I the person in the wrong here. I know I will never be able to trust her again, and her actions confirm this. I'm filing for divorce and serving her as soon as possible. So thank you for all the advice. Well, OP, of course it sucks when a relationship ends like this, but in your case, it is most definitely the best solution to your whole thing. I mean, having to put up with all that screaming, honestly, it was so annoying just reading about it. Julie and Jimmy can F off, and hopefully Kirsten does something about her relationship. So here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Hopefully your divorce goes amicably enough that it won't hurt the kids that much. Hopefully your wife can control herself with all that screaming. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.